welcome to my YouTube channel. My name's Caroline if you've never seen any of my videos before. In this week's video I'm doing a painting for Mermay. I've actually never taken part before and I'm also not properly taking part this year. I've just not quite got the time, but I'd love to have a proper go at some point in the future, hopefully maybe next year. But I still wanted to have a go at it by just doing the one painting and picking a prompt that I like the look of, and I decided to go with Barbie. I have a lot of childhood nostalgia for Barbie. I grew up with the animated films as well as like owning dolls myself. In particular I had like this walking horse that came with a stable, as well as the Barbie dressed in kind of like a cowboy vibe outfit, which I really loved in particular. But I also had an iconic Barbie car, which was really great as well. But it just seemed perfect timing to pick Barbie with the live action film coming out in July this year, and I'm really hyped for it, so it's just made me even more hyped painting this. And I just embraced my girly side using lots of pinks and purples for this painting. But obviously there's the traditional mermaids as well, which are more dark and gruesome and like mysterious and enchantresses kind of stuff that I'd love to explore if I got the chance to do mermaid at some point in the future. But with this painting I've very much gone down the girly mermaid pink purple vibe. But yeah, this is the painting that you're gonna watch me paint in a couple seconds, and so let's just get straight into it, shall we? Just before we get into the paint with me, I thought I'd show you the original sketch. So this is what it looks like. I did it in my sketchbook, and for all paintings I decide to do on nicer paper, but started off in my sketchbook like the original sketch. I take a picture of them and then I trace them on Procreate, which I then print out to use with my lightbox and then trace onto nicer paper. I like doing the step of tracing it on to Procreate because it gives me the opportunity to fix any proportions and make any alterations before I print it out and actually put it on the nicer paper. I don't do this for every piece, but I am trying to get into the habit of doing it for more like finalised paintings. Is that I did like some colour studies, like plans with different palettes to see what I wanted to do. So I'll show you a bit of like a closer up of each one. And ultimately this is the one I ended up basing the final painting on. I always make some slight alterations, so it's not perfect, but it's very much similar to the original plan. So yeah, that's all my preparation work for this painting. I knew from about the beginning of May that I did want to try and get involved with Mermaid by painting and illustration. Obviously by then I'd already gathered I wouldn't be able to take part in the full challenge just due to time and events happening this month. But originally I was going to do the prompt Celestial rather than Barbie, and the main reason I didn't do Celestial was just because by the time I had some actual spare time to do this painting, the prompt had already gone by, and I just wanted to take part in the prompt that I could post live on the day. It was obviously this video's been uploaded to YouTube before the prompt for Barbie is, but I'll post it like nice pictures of this painting on Instagram on the actual day that Barbie is. But I still came up with quite a few fun ideas for the Celestial prompt, so I definitely want to revisit it at some point. And so I've jotted it down because it's just a good way to like keep ideas when you're inspired, to revisit if you're like having an art block and stuff like that, or just like have time to do it really. But yeah, so I do want to revisit that. I'd come up with some fun things like trying to explore having like fish and other sea creatures as like space elements that I'd like to have a go at some point. But yeah, so I went with Barbie, like I've already said. I have a lot of nostalgia for it and just excited for the film coming out this year. So for this piece, I decided to draw her kind of putting on makeup in like a mirror, and the mirror is like made out of like pearls and starfish, and I made it so like the way she's sitting you can still see her tail to obviously show that she is a mermaid, otherwise this would just be a Barbie drawing. But I included like a bit of an Easter egg, I guess you could call it, where her outfit, I based it on the original swimsuit that the very first Barbie wears, which is just like a white swimsuit with like black stripes, and I just thought that was a fun little detail. And then I also chose to add butterflies in her hair. That's mainly because for some reason I associate butterflies quite heavily with Barbie. I think one of the main things maybe because I really enjoyed like the Fairytopia films, and I had a doll which was probably one of the Barbie character from those films, but she had these wings that were shaped like a butterfly, and they were really cool actually because they were kind of 3D, and inside had water and glitter a bit like a snow globe, and she had a button on your chest that you'd press and all this glitter would just like move around the wings, and it looked really magical as a kid. So yeah, that's why I chose to include some butterflies. And then I got her wearing a tiara, mainly just because a lot of the Barbie films did have like princesses in them, like, and another favourite film of mine is being Princess and the Pauper. It just like made sense. Her makeup is kind of 80s inspired, kind of like bright blue eyeshadow and bright pink lipstick, and yeah, I really enjoyed making this painting. It was a bit frustrating at times, mainly because I accidentally spilled a few things on it a couple of times and dropped my paintbrush a bit. The main one being so there's a change in angle from the beginning. So at the beginning I have an overview shot of me painting this, but unfortunately my tripod's not the most stable. To make it balanced, because the weight of the phone's too heavy, they tell you to fill up the bag that it's stored in with like weight and then hang it onto the tripod. It's a bit risky, and I even put extra weight like in the middle of the tripod, like on the stand bit. That's why you see some random like sellotape and stuff to the side at the first clips, but it didn't hold, and unfortunately the tripod fell over and knocked over my drink, which is like a can of Diet Coke, and luckily there wasn't loads in it, but it was enough to smudge like majority of the face and quite a big chunk of the background, so I had to repaint the skin and that all over again. And I ended up taking a break from it that day and coming back to it the next day, because I just got so frustrated at that point, and I knew I'd just mess it up a bit. And sometimes that's good with paintings, to split it up. I've always been the kind of person who likes to get a painting done in like one sitting, but I have learnt to kind of space it out a bit more, because I do sometimes get to a point where I can get a bit frustrated or with it, and sometimes it's just best to step away for a bit and come back, even if it's just like an hour. Sometimes that's all you need. But yeah, and I'm so glad I like did that, and I also like didn't give up on this painting, because it's genuinely probably one of my most favourite paintings I've done this year. I just really like the style, and I want to try and do this more, and I can definitely see influences of my digital work, which is quite nice. I've always really kind of brought my traditional work into my digital work, because it's the one I've always felt a bit more uncomfortable with, but I'm a lot more comfortable with drawing digitally now, and so I've started to bring bits from that into my traditional work, which is just fun. And yeah, I can't wait to do some more gouache paintings. I've not told you, but I'm using a Himi gouache palette, as you can probably see at the side. and I also have just a plain pot of white gouache as well, because I mainly use the white gouache in the palette for mixing, and then any details that I need in white I use the pot just so it stays right, because I know people don't always like this, but I am one to just dip my paintbrush in all the pots. I don't really care about paint mixing slightly, which might be a bit bad, but yeah, I decided to add some sparkles at the end just because I felt like the background was a bit too plain, and when I think of Barbie I do think of full glamour and sparkles and glitz, so it just made sense to add it. And because I wasn't so sure, I did lightly draw them first in coloured pencil, and yeah, that's really all I've got to say on this painting, so I'll just leave you to watch me doing the final pulling off the tape. Unfortunately it wasn't quite as satisfying as I would have liked it to be, as the paint kept ripping, and also the background layer was quite thick, so I had a lot of like gouache dust just coming off onto the piece. That brings us to the end of this week's video. I hope you enjoyed watching me paint this Barbie mermaid illustration. I thoroughly enjoyed the process despite the challenges and frustrations along the way, and it's genuinely one of my favourite pieces that I've made this year. I also love this style of using the gouache in this quite cartoony way, and it's made me want to experiment with this a lot more, so watch out for some future gouache paintings. And yeah, I'll have all my links in the description below, including my website, Instagram and TikTok, where you can see a bit more behind the scenes and just finalise like pictures of my artwork. And yeah, thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you in next week's. Bye!